Imagine this scenario for a second. You are the executive director of a small nonprofit, or, maybe you serve on the board, or you're a dedicated development
Yeah,
officer.
you're the one in the trenches.
Exactly. And you originally got into this line of work because you wanted to change lives. You wanted to make a tangible, lasting impact on your community.
Which is the whole point of the sector.
Yeah, but what you absolutely did not sign up for was spending your days managing clunky software, resetting forgotten passwords, and just wrestling with endless spreadsheets.
And yet, that is the exact operational reality for so many. They're just drowning in a sea of disconnected tools.
It is. And the financial and temporal costs are staggering when you actually look at the numbers. You might have one platform handling your email newsletters, a completely different system for your donor CRM, which is your customer relationship management database, maybe a separate app for scheduling volunteers, and another tool entirely just to build donation forms on your website.
It's just a classic fragmented tech stack.
Right. And according to the sources we're looking at today, smaller nonprofits are routinely paying anywhere from $700 to over $4,000 a month just for this mess of tools.
That is a massive chunk of change for a small organization. But honestly, the money isn't even the worst part.
No, it's the time. This setup is stealing at least 8 to 12 precious staff hours every single week, time that could and should be spent doing actual mission work in the community.
12 hours a week is basically a part-time job just spent fighting with software.
Exactly. So today we are bringing you a deep dive into a stack of fascinating sources. We've got industry guides, technology comparisons, and strategy blueprints that reveal a much smarter way to operate. The mission of this deep dive is to explore how an all-in-one automation platform can completely eliminate that administrative bloat.
And get that time and money back where it belongs.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the current technology landscape for small to mid-sized nonprofits seems to be, well, fundamentally broken.
It really is. The current landscape actively works against the operational efficiency of a small team. The way most nonprofits are forced to operate right now, it's akin to a construction project gone completely wrong.
Oh, the hardware store analogy from the guides?
Yes. It's like trying to build a house, but instead of having a unified toolbox, you are forced to buy your hammer from one hardware store across town.
And your nails from a second store.
Right, your wood from a third and your blueprints from a fourth, and none of the store owners talk to each other.
So you spend more time driving between the stores and trying to force the pieces to fit together than you do actually building the house.
That analogy perfectly captures the friction. And when you analyze the options traditionally presented to nonprofits, you can see exactly why they end up in that trap. Let's examine the top tier of the market first, what the industry guys refer to as the enterprise trap.
We're talking about the tier 1 platforms here, right? Like Salesforce Nonprofit Cloud or Blackbaud.
Exactly. They're undeniably powerful systems, but they are engineered for massive organizations. Think universities, large hospital foundations, or international NGOs with hundreds of staff members.
Which raises the question, why do small nonprofits with a staff of maybe 5 or 10 people end up buying these massive, complex systems?
The sources point to a really fascinating psychological and organizational dynamic here. It's aspirational buying, and it's very often driven by board pressure.
Ah, the corporate board member effect.
You nailed it. You will frequently have a board member who is an executive at a Fortune 500 company. They are used to enterprise software. So they look at the nonprofit and say, we need to operate like a major corporation. We need the industry standard.
So the nonprofit leadership caves and buys the enterprise tool.
Right, but they completely lack the crucial context. These systems require dedicated database administrators and internal IT staff just to keep them running. For an organization with under 200 employees, these platforms are entirely inaccessible. They become an expensive burden rather than a useful tool.
That makes a lot of sense. So, realizing they cannot afford or manage the enterprise tools, the nonprofit leadership naturally pivots to the mid-market or the budget options. But looking at the tech comparisons in our stack, that seems to present a whole new set of problems.
Precisely. In the mid-market, you have tools that start at a seemingly reasonable monthly fee just for the CRM functionality. However, their pricing models contain a hidden penalty.
They penalize you for being successful.
Yes. As your contact list grows, or as you acquire more donors, your monthly fees automatically escalate.
That is incredibly counterproductive. A nonprofit should never be financially punished for expanding its donor base.
It creates a lot of anxiety around growth.
And if they try to avoid those escalating fees by moving all the way down to the ultra budget options, what is the catch there?
The catch with the budget tools is a complete lack of automation and integration. They might be cheap, but they operate in total isolation.
Which means the staff is back to relying on duct tape.
Digital duct tape, exactly.
Every hour you spend fighting with a CSV export, manually downloading those massive, messy, comma-separated value spreadsheet files from your donor database just to upload them into your email tool, is an hour stolen from the mission.
This raises an important question. If enterprise tools are far too complex and aspirational, and budget tools completely lack the automation needed to scale without exhausting the staff, where do small nonprofits actually go to get their time and budget back?
Looking through our strategy blueprints, there is a specific platform that keeps appearing as a prime case study for solving this exact dilemma. It's called Mission Ready, and it's developed by an implementation partner named Growth Rate Solutions.
And their entire focus is on that specific demographic.
Right. The claim here is that it is an all-in-one automation platform built explicitly for smaller nonprofits, specifically those with fewer than 200 employees.
The architectural difference with a platform like Mission Ready is that it operates as a single, unified ecosystem. You have one platform, one single login for the staff, and crucially, one affordable monthly price.
The pricing model stood out to me immediately in the sources. They emphasize that it includes unlimited contacts, unlimited users, and unlimited campaigns. There are absolutely no surprise invoices.
That predictable flat-rate pricing model is a critical differentiator. When your software costs scale exponentially with your success, it makes forecasting an annual budget nearly impossible.
You're always waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Exactly. A flat rate fundamentally changes how a nonprofit can manage its overhead. It just removes the anxiety of growth.
But what really caught my attention weren't just the features. Obviously, having the donor CRM, the unified inbox for emails and SMS, and the scheduling all in one place is great. But it was the empirical proof that impressed me.
The real-world results.
Yes. The sources documented some highly specific outcomes from organizations that migrated to this mission-ready platform.
The data is incredibly compelling. The benchmarks documented in our sources show a 35% increase in donor retention within just 90 days of implementation.
90 days, that's huge.
It is. Furthermore, organizations saw a 28% increase in their average donation size, which was specifically attributed to advanced donor segmentation.
Wait, I want to pause on that 28% increase. How does donor segmentation actually achieve that kind of lift in practice? What does that look like for, say, a small environmental NGO?
It all comes down to relevance. In a traditional duct tape system, a nonprofit usually sends one generic monthly newsletter to everyone on their list. The person who gave $5 5 years ago gets the exact same email as the major donor who gave $5,000 yesterday.
Which is just a terrible donor experience.
Right. But with an all-in-one system, the CRM and the email platform are the same brain. The system can automatically tag donors based on their specific behaviors and interests.
So if a donor specifically funded an ocean conservation project, the system inherently knows that.
Exactly. The system segments them into an ocean conservation workflow. The next time the NGO runs an appeal, that specific donor receives a highly tailored message updating them on the ocean project, rather than a generic update about forest planting.
Because the communication is deeply relevant to their specific passion, they are significantly more likely to give again and to give a larger amount.
That's the 28% lift right there.
That level of personalization is incredible.
Yeah.
And the sources note other massive gains, too. They saw 50% email open rates on campaign communications, and that astonishing metric of 12 hours per week saved per staff member.
Which is where the real value lies.
They even quantified the financial return, stating that organizations see $4 return for every $1 invested in this kind of automation.
When you analyze the why behind those numbers, it really is about the removal of administrative friction. The technology isn't performing magic. It is simply ensuring that operational balls are never dropped, allowing the staff to redirect those 12 saved hours back into relationship building.
That actually transitions perfectly into a common fear I noticed in the industry guides. There's real anxiety among nonprofit leaders that relying heavily on automation will make their organization feel robotic.
That they'll lose the human touch.
Exactly. Will they lose that human touch that is the entire heartbeat of philanthropic work?
It is a completely valid concern. particularly in a sector driven by empathy. What's fascinating here is how the top experts approach this balance. There is a guiding operational philosophy that they use: automate the transactional, semi-automate the relational.
Break that down for us. Let's start with the transactional side.
Let's look beyond the simple act of a computer sending a thank you email. A transactional task is a linear, predictable process. Think about the underlying workflow triggered when a donation clears online.
Okay, so the credit card is charged.
Right. In a fragmented system, a staff member has to manually verify the payment in Stripe, open their email software to draft a receipt, open their CRM to log the gift, update the donor's lifetime giving total, and then manually remove that donor from a pending uncommitted prospect email sequence so they don't get asked for money again tomorrow.
That is 5 different manual steps across 3 different screens.
Precisely. In an automated system, that entire sequence is classified as transactional. The moment the donation clears, the system instantly executes all of those data sequencing steps in the background. It is fully hands-off. You build the workflow once, and it runs perfectly every time, entirely eliminating the manual data entry.
That clears up the transactional side perfectly, but then you have the relational side. You certainly do not want an automated system blindly handling your major donor outreach.
Exactly. Relational tasks involve trust, nuance, and deep human connection. So you semi-automate them. Let's say a donor gives a gift that pushes their lifetime giving over a $10,000 threshold.
A major milestone.
Right. The system recognizes that milestone. But instead of sending an automated email, it tags the donor as a major gift prospect and automatically creates a high-priority task on the executive director's dashboard.
It essentially taps the human leader on the shoulder.
It does. It pulls the context of the donor's history, presents it to the director, and sets a reminder to reach out.
Right.
But the actual phone call, the handwritten note, the coffee meeting, that is deeply, authentically human. You're using the automation to tee up the human connection, not replace it.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the sources highlight how the integrated AI capabilities can take that semi-automation even further. We read about AI agents that can analyze a specific major donor's past giving history and their specific program interests, and then actually draft a highly personalized impact update.
But it doesn't send it.
Right. The AI writes the initial draft, but it places it in a queue. A human staff member reviews it, adds their own personal warmth, and is always the one to hit the send button.
It is a perfect synthesis of efficiency and empathy. It saves the development officer 45 minutes of staring at a blank screen, trying to figure out how to start the email while entirely preserving the authenticity of the relationship.
But looking at the strategy blueprints, I noticed that simply buying access to this software is not the end of the story. Implementing these complex workflows requires time and expertise, which are 2 things small nonprofits rarely have in abundance.
That is the harsh operational reality. Buying software without an implementation strategy usually results in shelfware, expensive tools that sit unused because no one has the bandwidth to configure them.
Which is where Growth Rate Solutions comes in.
Exactly. This is where the concept of a service partner comes into play. If we look at their model as our case study, they approach implementation through 3 distinct service tiers, built around an organization's internal capacity.
It is a classic trade-off between an organization's available time versus its available budget. Let's walk through these tiers, starting with the Do It With You model.
The Do It With You tier is priced at $397 per month. This is a guided implementation designed for organizations that actually have a highly technical employee dedicated to managing their technology.
So the nonprofit retains ownership of the day-to-day operations. They get access to the entire mission-ready platform, unlimited contacts, unlimited users, the donor's CRM, email and SMS, the built-in workflow automations, forms, scheduling, donor database reactivation, reputation management, all in one place. But they aren't left entirely on their own.
Correct. The critical differentiator here is the inclusion of a dedicated human success partner and a quarterly strategy call. This is not a chatbot or a generic help desk ticket system.
I want to emphasize why that matters. Anyone who has worked in a nonprofit knows the sheer frustration of submitting a help desk ticket to a massive software corporation. The tech support agent has no idea what a Giving Tuesday campaign is. They don't know what a lapsed major donor workflow entails.
They just don't speak the language of philanthropy.
Exactly. Having a human success partner means you are talking to a real person who actually understands nonprofit operations and is committed to your mission.
That contextual understanding is invaluable. But what about the organizations that are completely overwhelmed? The ones where the executive director is already wearing 5 different hats, and there's 0 technical staff available.
For those organizations, the sources outline the done-for-you tier. This is apparently their most popular model, sitting at $797 a month. This is a fully managed, hands-free service.
At this tier, the implementation partner essentially acts as an extension of the nonprofit's staff. With the nonprofit's input and approval, the partner bills and manages the donor campaigns, writes and sends the monthly newsletters, handles the social media content calendar, and runs the entire automated donor journey from start to finish.
The blueprints note that organizations utilizing this tier see up to a 30% improvement in first-time donor retention. It includes biweekly strategy calls and quarterly donor retention reviews. Basically, your team stops doing the marketing mechanics and focuses entirely on the mission.
When you evaluate the cost of $797 a month against the value of reclaiming those 12 hours per week for every single staff member, the operational return on investment becomes very clear.
And for the organizations that are ready to scale aggressively, there is a third option, the Done-For-You Premier tier at $1,297 a month.
This tier is engineered for the nonprofit that needs to operate with the capability of a fully staffed development team, but without the crippling overhead of actually hiring one. It includes everything in the standard Done-For-You tier, but it integrates advanced AI capabilities directly into the outward-facing operations.
This includes a custom AI chatbot that is trained specifically on the organization's unique mission, their impact reports, and their programs. So when donors or volunteers visit the website at 2 in the morning and have complex questions, they get real, accurate answers immediately.
It also includes an AI voice agent to handle inquiries around the clock, proactive grant opportunity monitoring, and weekly strategy calls with their success partner. The nonprofit gains a direct line for urgent situations.
One feature in that Premier tier really stood out to me, the automated board reporting dashboard.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that feature represents a massive operational shift. Currently, most nonprofit leaders spend days at the end of every month or quarter manually compiling retrospective reports for their board.
Digging through spreadsheets, trying to consolidate data from 4 different platforms just to prove their impact.
It is a grueling process of looking in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, but an automated dashboard pulls data continuously across the unified CRM, the communication logs, and the donation streams. So your monthly board prep practically does itself.
Leadership can view program performance in real time, allowing for faster course correction and much more compelling storytelling for the board and major donors.
It is also worth noting from the sources that while these advanced AI features are bundled directly into the Premier tier, AI is also available as a very affordable optional add-on for the other 2 tiers, so organizations can adopt AI at their own pace.
That flexibility is key to sustainable growth. You don't want to be forced into technology you aren't ready for.
So, what does this all mean? Let's bring everything we've unpacked today into focus. The core message flashing across all of these industry guides and strategy blueprints is this: nonprofit leaders must stop managing duct-taped software.
It is entirely unnecessary today.
Exactly. The tools exist today, platforms like Mission Ready, to unify all of those disjointed operations into a single, seamless flow. You get one login, one affordable flat-rate price that doesn't punish you for growing, and a dedicated human partner who actually cares about your mission.
It is a necessary evolution for survival in the modern philanthropic landscape. I want to leave you with a vision of the near future that our sources touch upon. It's the rise of AI-native nonprofits.
That's a fascinating concept.
These are entirely new organizations being designed around unified platforms and AI capabilities from the very day they are founded. Because they are not burdened by legacy systems or administrative bloat, early data shows these organizations operating with 300 to 500% better cost-effectiveness ratios than traditional nonprofits.
That is staggering.
They are incredibly lean, they move fast, and the vast majority of every single dollar raised goes directly to the impact, not the overhead. So the provocative question I would challenge you to ponder is this: if you were building your organization from scratch today with these modern tools at your disposal, what would you do differently?
That is a profound question to chew on. 300 to 500% more effective. That is the kind of scale that actually changes the world. If you are ready to stop wrestling with software and start reclaiming your time, there is a very clear next step outlined in our materials. Visit nonprofit.growthright.solutions and take the Mission Ready scorecard.
It's a great tool to see exactly where you stand.
It takes just 5 minutes to find out exactly where your nonprofit's operations stand and what automation can do for your mission. It is completely free, instant, and there is no obligation. Just clarity. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it gave you the insights and the confidence to take back your time and power your mission forward. Until next time.